What's up, gamers? Noah here with LH Gaming, and I am stoked to give you my spoiler-free review of The Last of Us Part 2. Now, before I get into the review, I want to address the leaks that happened about a month and a half ago. A lot of people are forming a consensus just based off the leaks, saying they won't play the game, and the game sucks, and all of that. What I say to them is, play the fucking game. The leaks don't do justice whatsoever. In fact, a lot of what's in the leaks is completely misleading and in some cases don't even occur at all. So take that what you will. Even if you hate the story, you're still getting an amazingly fun game to play. So with that being said, let's get into The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 takes place 4 years after the events of the first one. Ellie and Joel have settled down into a little settlement, which are now starting to appear across the country, and they live, typical normalish day-to-day lives, patrolling, basically acting as security guards for the compound to keep them safe from infected. But daily routine: showers, electricity, food, bars, weed.
You ever seen Son of a Woman on weed?
What's not to love? So something happens, and this sends Ellie down a path of vengeance, murder, mayhem, and just sheer brutality. And we're taken on this journey to experience one of the greatest games I've ever played. Now this comes from a graphical standpoint, gameplay standpoint, and oh boy, from a story standpoint, which I will not discuss in this video. We will have a spoiler review at a later date once Ben is done doing slow pan 360s to get all the scenery. Yeah, dude. Play the game. Now, when it comes to gameplay, The Last of Us Part 2 is very similar in terms of the mechanics and gameplay loop. You're exploring this beautiful world. I'll get to the graphics in a second. And you're gathering resources, avoiding enemies, taking on enemies, and generally just trying to survive. However, Naughty Dog has expanded on these mechanics and fleshed them out, as well as refined the existing mechanics. So a big new mechanic is the traversal. You can now go fully prone and hide in grass and under cars and squeeze through little crevices just to quickly get away from pursuing enemies. And these new traversal mechanics, combined with the new AI system they got going on, which is incredible. I'll get that into a second. And it just creates an experience that, even though you're familiar with the flow of the gameplay, each encounter feels drastically different and challenging. So that is because of the AI. The AI in this game is incredible. Some of the smartest, most realistically realized AI I've ever encountered in a video game. So with most stealth games, enemies walk a certain path. They either go in a circle or just walking back forth A to B. You figure out their path, you sneak up behind them and kill them. That doesn't happen in The Last of Us Part 2. Every enemy reacts so dynamically to what's going on in the world. Whether they heard you shuffling through some grass, they will call their friend, go check it out, and then they'll just kind of focus around that area, completely change their initial route, and they will communicate with each other, saying like, hey, something happened over here, keep an eye out over there. It just creates the scenario of realism and needing to constantly think on your feet and sort of plan out, because every encounter I tried to plan for never went as planned and everything ended up going to shit. So with your enemies, you have two human factions. You have the WLF, Washington Liberation Front, and the Scars, a crazy cult group. Encounters with each of these factions play differently. The WLF use more guns and the gameplay becomes more fast-paced and like a third-person cover shooter, and the shooting mechanics have been greatly refined. So I really enjoy those encounters. And then you have the Scars, who are very quiet and sneaky. They don't talk to each other, so you really don't know what's going on. When they make a noise, they do these whistles, and the whistles are terrifying, especially since these enemies do a great job blending into their environment and moving around quickly, and they're more stealth based, melee focused in terms of combat. So you got the two human factions. Time to talk about the infected. The infected are fucking scary as shit. Like, I've never had a panic attack playing a video game before. I've had like four of them during this game, and those were all in part of encounters with the infected. So, in addition to the usual runners and clickers, who have seen great improvement with the runners now being more huddled together and vocal. So if you get spotted by one, they'll yell out, the others will just rush towards you, and then all of a sudden you got this fucking mob of infected runners running towards you. And it's extremely intense and overwhelming. And when that happens, you just gotta run for your life. And I'm with Ellie for that. It's just a super intense experience. And then you have the clickers, who, still click, they're still blind, you could still, sneak up in front of them, but their movement is so much more erratic and random, to where they don't walk a set path. They kind of did in the first game, but they're super vocal. Like, they will yell randomly as if they spotted you, which will cause you to panic and run, and then they'll actually spot you. It's just AI like that, and it feels like the AI is planning and coordinating together as individual enemies to create a stronger force for you to fight against. It's incredibly intense. It makes every encounter unique, and that combined with the new mechanics and traversal mechanics, you are given this area to really fight to survive and kill as many guys as possible, and dogs. Unfortunately, I had to kill a lot of dogs, but they'll sniff you out. They're stitches. Snitches get stitches.
Hey, what do we do with snitches in this bitch? Go by a rule. Snitches get stitches.
It creates a game that's constantly exciting, and the gameplay just moves beyond the combat, of course. Exploration is another huge part of this game. In fact, there's moments of like 30 minutes, 45 minutes where you don't encounter any enemies. You're just walking in the environment, character building moments. Some of my favorite game moments in the game are the quieter moments where there's no combat going on, and you're just given time to really explore these amazingly fleshed out environments, to gather resources, find fun collectibles, and hidden story segments. I'm gonna say one right now, it's not a spoiler, but in Seattle, go to the music shop. One of my favorite moments in video games. You will not regret it. So you're still exploring these beautiful environments, and these environments are highlighted by the amazing graphics. The graphics in The Last of Us 2 are the pinnacle, as of now, of what a console game could look like. The detail in animation and textures is mind-blowing. The detail is so good in the faces that it often feels like I wasn't watching a video game. I thought this was like a movie, and that goes in part with the amazing script and amazing acting and the lovable characters and hateable, like, love to hate characters as well. That's everyone is engaging. I want to know their story, and their performances just come through with Naughty Dog's wizardry of facial animations. I swear, the characters in this game are more expressive and emotive and convincing than majority of actors I've seen in film or play or television. It's that good. And this is also highlighted by an eerie yet beautiful and heartbreaking score that really highlights individual moments and what the character is going through. There's one song in particular that I will never, ever be able to listen to the same way again without tearing up.
Here I go again.
Tissue?
No, I never wipe my tears away. I'm not ashamed of them.
So all these elements combine to make a game that is so fleshed out but so aware of what you as a player are feeling and going through, to make engagements that you really feel for Ellie as she's like struggling for her life, as well as the unpredictability of encountering enemies on her adventure. The gameplay just emphasizes that so much, and it really brings you on an emotional roller coaster ride to where I'm all in it, no matter how shitty of a person it made me feel. It's a really unique experience, not just in gaming, but in any storytelling medium that I've never had before. Now, I want to touch on the story just a little bit. I won't go into any specifics whatsoever, but there is a moment in this game that will define if you're on board or not. I don't want to say any more, but I understand for people who have played the game, I understand their criticisms and how it made them upset. It's not a cutscene or anything, it's an actual gameplay situation. So, I personally was a huge fan of it. I thought it was really smart, but expect to be thrown for a loop. I won't say when, but this game will subvert all your expectations, and I cannot recommend it enough. If you like video games and storytelling, actually, fuck it. You don't have to be a fan of any of that shit. You have to play this fucking game right now. It is such an amazing experience through and through, not just gameplay wise, but emotionally. I definitely felt like it's definitely had me think about a lot of things, especially in the state of the world that we are in now. So, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Tell us down in the comments below if you like the game or not. And we will be having a spoiler discussion in the near future. So, go pick up this game. Thanks for watching the review, and keep on playing.